Hello, and thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the She Means Business podcast, where we bring together badass women business owners, industry leaders, and other aspiring women to celebrate their success and empower you. I am your host, Ashley Mastowski. I'm a business owner, wife, and mom of twin toddlers. Ambitious is my middle name. Join our email list and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You'll find inspiring content, updates, and the chance to connect with like-minded individuals. Remember to leave a review and share how we've inspired you. Now, let's get to business. Welcome back to the She Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Mastowski. You know, I started this podcast to grow my reach in the business community and bringing together just some amazing, badass women. Most of the episodes when I started have been people that I know, that I want to pull from my own community and networking group, my friends, my grandma as another one, but just people who I've met throughout my career who have supported me or gotten me to where I am, and vice versa. So as I continue to do more and more episodes, I just really wanted to expand my reach and was hopeful that I would start meeting other women to learn about their story, because we can all learn about each other in some way and support one another, no matter where we are, whether we're in Vegas, whether, we're clear across the country, it doesn't matter where. So I'm really excited because today that episode happened. I cannot wait to hear her story. So let's dive right in and welcome Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi. How are you?
I'm so excited. You reached out. This is so awesome.
Yeah.
And in a long roundabout way, we do have a connection. So that's how you had heard about the podcast. And so I just love that. So I'm going to let you take control. And I want to hear, first of all, how you heard about us and reaching out to us and kind of what got you to do that. But then I'd love to hear your story, because I'm going to say right now, we started following each other on Instagram, and I already know that we can be besties, because everything you post, I literally just laugh and I'm like, yes, I feel you. I feel you on that. So.
Isn't that funny? Social media.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so yeah, I've heard about your podcast through Whitney Shorts. She's actually partners in one of my tax offices in Las Vegas. So I'm from Mount Vernon, Ohio. That's where I'm at right now. This is our Mount Vernon office.
Awesome.
This is my main office, but I have 4 offices. So Las Vegas is one of them. And Whitney and her father are the partners for the Las Vegas office. So I saw she was on your podcast and I listened and I thought, well, how cool. This is cool. And I've never really been a big feminist, but I thought, the more I become, involved in these businesses, I see how it is important for women to be together, because it is, women, they're just looked down on. And I didn't think I'd ever say that, but here I am, December 14th, 2023, and it's true.
Which is sad. And I feel like it is having a movement, and it is getting better, but it's still, you can touch base on your businesses, but I'm an insurance agent. It is way male dominated. So I'm like, no, women need a voice. I can be just as good as the men, if not better sometimes. I feel like women sometimes have an edge on certain things, but we all have our benefits, right? Like there's things that, and I'm generalizing, of course, men do better than women, but vice versa. And so I think I just want equality. That's all I care about, and to be treated fairly, which I know you do too. But is your industry more male dominated?
Oh yeah, like the 70-year-old white male, right, is a tax preparer. There are a few like older females, but I would say definitely the age is 60, 70. So a 30-year-old female is not known, and that's why I put Samantha on all my emails, because if I put Sam, everybody assumes, right, that I'm the older male. So I've got enough odd looks in me with the name Sam. So I always use the name Samantha. So when we go to tax school, it's you look at the room, it's all older male, and it's It's changing though. We're getting some more young people in the tax field, and
That's awesome.
so I think it's changing. Yeah, especially in
Yeah.
our office. I mean, I've hired mostly younger, actually a lot of younger females. So hopefully we can change the ways.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. We are on that path. One business and one person at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, so tell us your story. That's so cool that you are where you're at right now. And I absolutely love kind of your mission. And I know you have stories about what you're having to overcome right now, but let's kind of rewind it a little bit. And where did you start? How did you get started? You can go back as far as you want.
Okay. So I guess it all started, in high school. You have friends and they talk about what they want to be, right? I want to be a nurse. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be an engineer. And I just never had a want to be anything. I knew I wanted to be a mom, right?
Mhm.
But at 18, I didn't want to be a mom, so that was kind of unfortunate. And I thought, well,
Right.
maybe a stay-at-home wife, that would be, pretty cool.
Mhm.
So I went to school. My parents said, you have to go to school. That was back when going to school was a thing. Now
Yeah.
I feel like you don't necessarily have to go to college. So
Right.
my dad had said, everything's a business, whether you're a veterinarian or a doctor or insurance agent, right? It's all
Yep.
business. So get a
Yep.
business degree. So that's what I
Yep.
did. I got a business degree. Halfway through my college, I got diagnosed with Chiari malformation. So my brain fell into my spinal cord.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate. It's an unfortunate time. So
Yeah.
school took what.
Is it more or both, physical capabilities, or was it more like learning mental, what did that cause?
So my whole left side of my body just went numb.
Wow.
Yeah, and talking was very hard. So not put a
Okay.
damper on school.
Yep.
I still actually did. I did finish school. It did take me 3 years longer. And I still
It
tell
doesn't
my
matter.
husband to
That's
this.
awesome.
Yeah, I tell my husband to this day that he probably has half rights to my business degree because
That's awesome.
he would do my schoolwork. Shh, don't tell my school.
Yeah, right?
Uh,
Maybe we should black out your last name on this.
yeah, that was my maiden name anyway, so it doesn't
Okay,
matter.
perfect. See, we're good. We're clear.
So I got done with that, but I couldn't. There's no way I could work like a 9 to 5 job, right? There's no way I
Mhm.
could be an employee expected to show up and contribute to society. So at the time, my mom and grandma actually owned a quilt shop, and so I started to work for my mom and grandma, managing employees. I did the bookkeeping, taxes, so and so. So that was a good background for me. I really feel like I learned a lot about
That's
business
awesome.
through them and their business that they had. Um,
And side note, I actually quilted. I can't call myself a quilter anymore because it's probably been like 15 years, but in high school and college, I actually made several quilts and I absolutely loved it. I was terrible at picking out the patterns to
yeah,
all go together, but it was actually very
yeah,
therapeutic and I really loved it. So that's like my geeky part. I like semi-creative
yeah.
outlet. I'm just good at
And
following
actually,
directions, but
it's a really cool
it's a
business,
cool hobby.
especially like the older women.
Yeah.
They're just their life and their
Mhm.
experience and just how they were just
Yep.
all so cute. And I really got into the big
Yep.
machine, 12-foot machines that were robotic. So I did a lot of that, and then the business side.
Yep.
And then, so
That's so
to
cool.
move on, so I was doing that. And then my dad always went to this guy in town named Bill Short. And Bill Short is Bill Short, right? He's kind of a crazy guy. I don't know if you've ever met Whitney's dad. He's funny. Um, and he was telling my dad how much he needed help at the office and that he needed to hire somebody. And my dad was like, "Well, why don't you hire my daughter?" So Bill called me and sent me to tax school. This was about 2017, 2018. So I went to tax
Mhm.
school, learned some taxes, came to work for him. And I was an employee for him for 4 or 5 years before I started helping him actually manage his office. And
That is bro, side note, that is really that is good old-fashioned networking
yeah,
right
yeah,
there. That's So I tell everybody, I'm like, the power of
I know.
networking and just the power of talking to people, just conversation, you will get so far in life. And you never know who you're talking to. You never know the situation, and you never know when the pieces will align. So that is so cool
Yeah,
to hear
and
that. That's how this
so
all
my dad
stumbled.
now has, calls Bill and says, I think I should get a commission of what's happening here.
I was gonna say, is he want a
Yeah,
piece
he
of the
does.
pie?
He does. My dad's funny. Anyway, so
Right.
I started managing. I started managing his properties too. He's got a real estate business too, so he's got rentals. So I started managing those because he was going back from Ohio to Las Vegas, and things was just a mess, and he didn't really care, and it just wasn't the way I operated. I was the one dealing with all the stuff
Yep.
here anyway. So I'm like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Like, I'm gonna manage this for you so that it's easier for me to manage because I'm already doing it. So he had quite a few properties. I mean,
I
he has
love
got
that.
20 plus properties. So it was going to be a big chunk that he'd have to pay me to do the real estate. So in exchange, we started our own real estate company, and he moved one of his rentals, and I became half owner in a rental in exchange for managing his properties. So that was the key into the real estate.
That is
Yeah. So
so
now he
cool.
and I have,
You're like my inner realtor. I love real estate
yeah.
myself. And that, like, my inner mind is like, this is so cool. I'm so excited for you because that is an awesome situation, right time, right place. Like
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah,
so
he
cool.
and I have three together. I have one on my own. My husband and I have one. Plus he has all his. So,
Very
yeah, it's been really great. I
yeah.
mean, I love real estate. I think, I loved Monopoly when I was little. So, this is like real
Yep.
life Monopoly, right? Except there's not really
Yep.
there's no
Absolutely.
pass and go
And
though.
that's my goal. Yeah. And you do. And I just want it to me, like, it's everybody has their own opinions and thoughts, right? But I just feel even with real estate that can be up and down because we all lived through
Yep.
'08 as semi
Mhm.
adults, right? And at the end of the day, like, I think real estate can do so many things. So to me, it's stable and comfort. I don't know why. And I mean, I also love looking at houses, and I think I was a realtor in my past life, to
Oh
be
yeah, I
honest.
lay in bed at night and I just like look and look and look. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I thought I was
Yeah,
the only one
but
here.
even here, I know we don't have Vegas prices, but for Knox County, I mean, you can't buy a rental right now. I've been
Yeah.
looking. My plan is to buy two rentals a year for 20 years. Well, I've only have one purchase this year
Wow.
because things are just interest rates and the prices on
Yeah.
houses. I mean, you can't make any money right now. So if we're not covering
No.
our expenses, what's the point? So we're just
Yep.
waiting and
Yep.
it'll come. I'll have to buy three next year, I guess. We'll see.
See, aw shucks. But at least you're gonna so my goal this year is to move into a new home, our new primary home, but rent
Yeah.
out our current one. So that would be our second in
Yeah.
our portfolio. And but I'm trying to get everything aligned right. So when the right house comes about and the right interest rate before
Hmm.
the rates start increasing as far as the home costs, I want to be able to
Yeah.
pull the trigger. So that's why I'm like, okay, if we can, so knowing that it's eventually going to be a rental, I just want to be in the right position.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you get yourself in the right position, so just wait and be patient, is I'm assuming in the
Yeah.
real estate world as an investor might have some patience, which is not normally my forte. Um, at least you'll be able to do
Yeah.
that for next year. So you might even get the three as long as you are ready to go and you're in the right space. Then you can pull
Yeah.
the
So
trigger.
Bill and I, he and I work. We have four tax offices, the real estate company, and in the tax office, he's the crazy one and I'm the calm one. And in the real estate business, I'm the one that's like, we should go do this, buy this, do this, and he's like, no, let's just wait.
Oh my
So
gosh.
our roles are switched in the
Yeah,
two businesses.
that's
Yeah. He's always
hilarious. I
he's always the one that's like,
wonder.
I don't think we should. I think we should wait. This is too much. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I think we should go and we should buy it. We look at it. We need to do this. Who cares if we lose money up front? In the long run, it's gonna be great. He's like, well, that's not how it works.
Yep.
Calm down.
I'm that way in the insurance agency. My partner probably wants to murder me half the time. I'm the spender. I'm the big visionary. I'm the one, let's do this. And, we'll just sell a few more and I'll cover it. We'll just figure it out. And he's probably like,
we'll figure it out later. It'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah. He's like, no. The cash flow doesn't warrant this. And I'm like, we'll figure it out. It's fine. We're good. I'm hoping I don't put him in the grave with a heart attack at some point.
Anyway, so back to taxes. I mean, taxes is what I do mainly. So tax school came and worked. 2023 though was the first official year that I purchased a business from Bill. Last year we did open Vegas and Loudonville. So in 2022 we opened those offices. Vegas has always really been a thing since Whitney and Bill have been out there for the last 3 or 4 years. Whitney would refer, and then we have a great guy in Vegas, also Michael Holden from Edward Jones. I mean, he's really great. He's been referring a bunch of people to us. So our Vegas office has really just exploded. And we thought, well, heck, let's just make it a real thing, right? We had filtered it through Mount Vernon. And we were just tired.
And who doesn't love a nice little tax write-off to fly to Vegas?
I told Bill we need to buy an Airbnb in Vegas so that when I come, I can have a place to stay, and our tax clients can have a free place to stay, and then they can have a tax write-off. It's all legit.
Look there's your real estate side crazy coming out.
Prices are different in Vegas. I said, I realized that, but you can charge more.
Just a little bit.
Anyway, so that was that's how we created Vegas and Loudonville. So those are just starting off. And then this year, also in 2023, we started Archbold, which is another town in Ohio, Northwest Ohio. And Bill's brother lives in Archbold, and he's an EA, so an enrolled agent with the IRS, and he's been doing taxes. So once a week or once a weekend during tax season, Bill and I go up to Archbold and do a bunch of taxes. So that's kind of just became its own thing too. So it's all been filtered, and it all has just kind of created itself. My sister-in-law is the one that manages the Loudonville office. So Loudonville is just 20 minutes north of Mount Vernon. So that office is pretty close. So I'll go up and help her during tax season. So that's.
And just because I'm not familiar with your industry, like for example, in my industry, we can be fully remote. Like I think I maybe meet not even a dozen clients a year physically, like face to face. I'm assuming in the tax side, is it more common, or maybe it's just your clientele? Do they physically want like a physical office to come see you, to come do meetings, or do you see a lot of it switching? What's kind of your take on your industry?
Yeah, it really depends on the age, really. And actually COVID has really helped us with getting everything on Zoom or Teams, right? We use Teams. Even our order.
I think it's put the general public more like comfortable with doing things online versus
they've done their doctor's appointments on Zoom, and so they feel or tell.
That is like the best thing to happen, by the way, because nobody likes to go to the doctor's
office. So now
office.
They feel comfortable with meeting, face to face like this, like on Zoom or something. And some of our Vegas clients, when we're not there, or when Bill's not in Vegas, we meet just like this. We actually do taxes for people all over the United States, and this is exactly how we meet. Now, here locally, I'd rather see somebody, in front of me. It makes me get it done. I don't just throw it off to the side. Yeah. Oh, I'll do it later, right?
In all honesty, it gets a little lonely. We had a client that walked in, actually a couple clients in the last 2 weeks that needed, they don't have a printer, so they just needed ID cards and they could come down. And technically we're by appointment only, because there are days like Fridays we work from home, and some days during the week, if everybody's out at different appointments, we just all work from home. But most of the time we're here Monday through Thursday. But either way, it's actually nice for, to actually see somebody and have a different conversation every so often, it just kind of changes up the day a little bit to actually see face to face and talk to those clients and build that relationship.
I love when people come in. And this time of year for tax season, everybody thinks taxes are right January through April, but at this time of year,
Mm-hmm.
we meet with people end of year planning. So they'll come in just
Yep.
like at tax time, and we do a mock tax return and say, okay, well, you're going to owe X to the IRS if you don't spend Y, right? And if you don't spend Y, get ready
Yep.
to write a check
Yep.
for X, right? And so that's what we help. We help them, figure out what they can do to invest back in their business so they don't have to write, Uncle Sam a check. So, right.
Who wants to
We'd
do
rather
that?
invest back in our business than just sending it to the government. But sometimes you just have to do it.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. Which, I mean, at the end of the day means you're doing something right within your business. So it's just finding that
Yep.
fine line, right?
Yep. I don't like to pay tax as much
I
as
hear
the
you
other
on that.
person. So, yeah.
Nope. Nope. So you are a business owner and now you own a couple rental
Hmm.
properties. You also
I
are a
am. I
mom,
am. Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So how are you managing how old, and kind of tell me that part of your life? Like how are you juggling all
Yeah.
those
So
things?
I have a little boy, Carson. He's 3. The best thing in the whole world.
Aw.
People are always so
Yep.
negative about their kids, but I'll tell you what, he's the best. He's absolutely the best.
Yeah.
If something happened to him, I told my husband, put me in a straitjacket because I'm going to be gone. You better get to me quick because
Yep.
I'm not existing without him.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's great.
Yep.
And it's very hard to manage my life at work and then also have a family. My husband is a deputy here at the sheriff's office in the county, and his schedule
Yep.
is 4 to
Awesome.
midnight. So, and a lot of my clients, yeah, a lot of
Oh.
my clients like to meet in the evening because they have businesses also. So it makes it hard. But we got
Mhm.
family around and we have a babysitter and
Good.
we juggle it. So, yeah, but
Yep.
that's the
You
hardest.
I always tell people, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. You just figure it out. And sometimes I hate saying that because it's like nobody warns you for this, right? I like they tell me the same thing and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I'm a planner and I'm a control freak," which you can't be when you have
Right.
kids, right? They
Right.
take the control fully out of out of the way like there is nothing, but it's just, for example, yesterday, get a phone call. It's middle of flu
Mm-hmm.
season. The school is having lots of flu, and my son had
Oh,
to go
dear.
home. And I'm like in the middle of a networking group, clear across town. Had 2 appointments later that day. But I will tell you, at first, I was very frantic and just stressing myself out. Okay, okay, like I knew what I had to do. That wasn't a question. But I had to literally shift my mindset and be like, this is why I own a business. This is why I am thankful to have this flexibility that I could leave my networking group. They
Mm-hmm.
all understood and went and picked him up. And then my husband and I tag teamed for an hour and a half because I had one appointment that I couldn't reschedule. And then the last afternoon, I just said, you know what? I'm going to check my emails to make sure nothing's urgent. I've got an awesome team behind me. They're running the show. My son and I are just going to go get my errands done that I needed to get done, such as the grocery store and Target. And they're all stuff that I hadn't had time to do. And I had such a great afternoon with him. It was so cool that I'm like, I just looked back and I just made sure to stop and say, this is
Yeah.
why we do it. And I'm so thankful that I can do this for my children and have this flexibility. And I made sure to just be more present and get rid of that stress to be like, no, this is why I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing this. This is why I took that risk to open that business. And honestly, it was such a great
Yeah.
afternoon. Like it was so good. So I'm sure, you know, you've had those few, he's right at that ripe
Yep.
age.
Yeah, we had the same thing happen this
um,
week. I won't go into whole details, but yeah, and we got a call from the babysitter and off I went.
yep,
And right, I have
yep.
office manager here. She's great. I'm like, I have to go call these people that I can't meet with them tonight. And they're all, our clients are all, they're so great. I mean, I don't have one client that would be like, oh, well, I can't believe you cancel my appointment to go be with your sick kid, right? So, and really, if we did,
Right.
maybe we don't need to work together, if you can't.
I was just going to say that's probably not the
Yeah.
best clientele. And when COVID hit, we were technically considered by the government an essential business, right? So we could stay open. Um, we worked from the office still, but it was just me and my one employee at the time when COVID first hit. And, you know, I was like, let's just work from home. And especially when I was pregnant. And so, right in the middle of COVID. So, especially when the pregnancy happened, we were just both from home. Honestly, I was exhausted. It was the middle of the summer. And I'm like massively large. So, I'm like, nah, I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. But I told my business partner, or I told my employee, I was like, if your kids are home and they're screaming in the background, or you can be heard in the background, it just makes you
Yeah.
real. Like, if somebody's really going to complain, if your client's really going to complain, especially knowing what's going on out there right now, and they're upset that they can hear your kids in the background,
Yeah.
I go, don't for 1 minute feel guilty. They're probably not
Yeah.
the right client, or they're not giving grace, or something. That's not the right client. Like, we all are
Yeah.
human. Like, life happens. So we just need to have that extra grace or whatever it is. Now, if it's happening all
Right.
the time and you're never getting through, then obviously there's a shift that we need to do both as owners and, employers, but ultimately you're
Yeah.
totally right. Like, and that's what I love is we can choose our
Yeah.
clients
Exactly.
and we
Yeah. When
know.
I first
Like, is
when
this
I
the right
first had
fit?
Carson, Bill was like, "Oh yeah, you bring him to the office, it'll be fine." Blah 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 blah. I couldn't do it. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't.
No.
He was just running around and getting into things, and I'm like, okay, well, this might have worked for you, Bill, when you had kids, but this is not me. I can't do it, right? I can't just stop what I'm
No.
doing at my computer and making sure my child isn't running out the door. I can't.
Right. Or getting into the desks
Yeah,
or whatever it
getting into
is.
everybody else's desk,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah. I also think it might be an age thing. I mean, maybe his kids were, when he was coming into the office, but I have twins and they're
yeah. There's
2.
no way,
There is no way. Like, unless I get one of those
right? Lock them
playpens,
up.
my office is big
Yeah,
enough, but unless I get one of those big old playpen fence things that I can put them in, but even then, because I'm not in there, they're going to want to get out. I'm not
yeah,
going to get any work done. So I'm like, I know twins are a little different, but still, I think it's the age, the 2,
yeah.
3, maybe 4. I don't know. Maybe there's that little bit older of an age that we could get away with it at the office. I'm willing to
Maybe
try
in like four
if that
years.
happens.
I don't know.
You're like,
Maybe
maybe
not. I don't
never.
know. Maybe when he can file in the back.
Right. I know, right? Hey, you know what? My uncle owns an accounting firm and I grew up working, my mom would always visit. Um, my mom would always visit. We would always go to his office, and I'm one that never could sit still. And so they had me
Yeah.
shredding paper. So my mom would be sitting in there talking and catching up with him and my grandma, and I would just go into the back office and shred the big stacks of paper. Um and then this is going to date me a little bit, but his office had the floppy
Oh dear.
disks. So my other job that I grew up doing was formatting floppy disks.
I don't even know. I know what a floppy disk is, but I don't. I'm not sure.
I was like, no, you're
I'm
gonna
not
make me
sure
feel
if my
old.
cousins. My cousins are just now turning 20. I don't know if they would know what a floppy disk is.
No, doubt
I
they
actually,
would. Yeah, and we had the
yeah,
big one and then the
I
little
actually
ones.
guarantee that they don't because I had hired an intern last year in our tax program. The save button is still a floppy disk. Remember when the save buttons used to be floppy
Yes,
disks?
yes,
And I
yes.
say, yeah,
Yep,
you go up
yep.
and just hit the save button. She couldn't see it because there's a bunch of buttons. And I said, the floppy disk. She was like, I don't know what that is. Yeah.
She's like, wait, what?
I'm like, oh, I can teach you
Well,
something.
you're like, yes. I would also spend summers they had a big they just rented an office in this big office building. and there was a basement, and that's where all of his client
Mm.
files were. So they had these big boxes for each client, and every summer I would go and I would file them away and
Yeah.
re-alphabetize and reorganize and go from up downstairs to upstairs. And that was my life. I just had my Discman with the headphones, and I would just hang out in the basement. And that's what I did all summer. Is I could tell you probably I could still I have all of the names that I knew because I was doing it for so many years. But gosh, we really just dated
Yeah.
ourselves. It makes me feel really
Bill
bad
still
right now.
has the metal filing cabinets in the back, and this year I'm working on getting everything scanned into the network.
I think my uncle finally did that a
Yeah.
few years ago. I think they finally got everything
Mhm.
online, everything. I mean, honestly, even in just the last few years, did he start accepting credit card
Well,
payments? Like before it
let
was
me tell
just
you.
paper checks.
Let me tell you. Bill.
He goes, "Do you know how many more people pay
Yeah.
me quicker?" And I was like, "No way."
We just started accepting credit cards last year here at the tax office. And that's because
Yeah,
I told
okay,
Bill, we're
okay.
doing it. I don't care what you say. So he
Yeah.
did.
There might be some service charges, but at the end of the day, it's so much easier for
Yeah.
people to pay.
Yeah.
So your accounts receivable is probably a little bit easier to
Right.
work with.
Exactly. We have a whole machine and everything, because
that's so
before it was
funny.
just on his phone if he wanted to accept it. And then he couldn't find the device or
Yes.
couldn't remember his password. And I said, well, Bill, they make these machines that you just sit on the table and we can just, scan, enter, put the credit card in and take the money. It's a whole thing. It happens.
I love this. He is exactly like my uncle at that
Yeah.
point. Like, this is so funny. I'm like, can we please adjust this?
It's been a change. And that's one of the main struggles in this office is everybody, he's had this business for 40 years and everybody is used to Bill, right? Older male.
Yep.
And now it's a 30-year-old female, and it's been adjusting
Big shift.
employees and clients. Yep. It's been hard. But I am very blessed because Bill, when he sees it happening, right? When he sees she can't do it, he'll step up and say, well, it's too bad. I'm trusting her with my business. I'm selling her this business. I obviously think she's good. So this is what's happening.
Yeah.
So, and I never thought this would happen, but even women look down on younger, successful women. And it was quite amazing. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, you did your schoolwork. You did what you needed to do. You got the accreditation that you need. And
I've been here 6 years. I mean, that's for somebody my age, being somewhere 6 years is like a big thing, right? People don't stay at jobs for 30 years anymore, So
nope, they jump. I think the average, I don't know where I got this stat from, but I remember seeing it. The average is like 3 to 5 years. And then they move on to the next thing. And not even it's they completely skip industries. Like they just go to a whole nother industry. I'm like, I've been doing insurance for 15 years. I love it. I want to diversify a little bit, hence the podcast and the rental properties and things like that. But I'm always going to be an insurance agent. I'm always going to have, this side of it because I truly do love it. So I just, I still want a little bit of, other things.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm tax office. I told my husband if we ever won the lottery or got super rich, I think I still would do taxes. I mean, maybe I wouldn't work 16 hours a day during tax season, maybe just 8, but I love it. I love meeting with people. I love helping them save money and giving them all these different, possibilities on trying to improve their business and not pay as much tax.
And probably what helps in your industry while you're doing taxes, every client is a different scenario. So it probably just keeps things different because that's what I love. Like one day I'm doing tons of marketing and networking and all that means is just bullshitting with other business owners and friends. Like that's what it is. I'm just making friends. And then the other day could be filing claims all day long or dealing with claim nightmares. Then, another day is all these people wanting to sign up and my sales team needs help and I jump in and work with clients. And then like the last month and a half has been all planning for 2024. It's been up and down. It's been really stressful trying to figure out the right plan and do, like, it was the dirty work, but it was still enjoyable. So every day is different. And I love that. Every day is a different puzzle piece. It just keeps me on my toes. And to me, it's not the boring same thing at a desk.
I say that. I have said that to Bill before. I have said, doing taxes is like a puzzle, right? You're given all these pieces and you have to put them together. And the funny thing about taxes, he could do a tax return and I could do a tax return with the same pieces and get a different result. And neither one of us is wrong.
Yeah.
There are areas where you got to stay, right? The laws, right? The tax code, you have to stay away from. But it's so fluent. There's a lot of gray area in tax, and and it's funny. Like we have a bunch of clients that we work on together, are big farmers, big businesses. And I'll do the tax return and he'll do the tax return. We'll get different answers. And then, we talk about it like, well, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do over here. Oh, good idea.
You kind of get to collaborate with each other and bring different perspectives.
Yeah. And we do a lot of accounts together and it's better. Yeah. Having both, he's got
well, and I mean, in your case, you couldn't be more of complete opposites of each other, right?
The thing,
like you've got this older male who's been doing this for years and years and years. And then you've got a younger female who has a whole different perspective and a whole different generation coming together. That's awesome. I think that's so cool and you really are lucky because it's sometimes hard to find that a generation like his who's open to that. And it might not all be rainbows and butterflies, but I was trying to purchase an agency and the owner kind of was set in his ways, didn't really want to be open to other ideas and kind of the new different wave of how you can run an insurance office. It was more just golf course sales, old door-to-door mentality. And I'm like, the insurance industry has really changed. And not just the insurance industry, just business in general. That's not really how you do as many sales now. And how can you scale that where it's not just you? And so it was really interesting going through that process. It really opened my eyes to be like, well, what I thought was common sense is not common sense, especially when you get to that older generation. They're not all, easy necessarily to deal with.
I mean, he's not like that at all. Bill is great.
That's awesome.
I mean, I have these offices because of him. I mean, if I'm honest, I'm not saying that I didn't work my ass off or anything like that. Right. I mean, I put in the time, right? But I mean, he gave me the steps, multiple steps up, and I will forever be grateful for forever, for him. And now
I have, just by the way, I still have yet to meet him. So
he's actually probably on the airplane now, headed back to Vegas. So you'll have to meet him.
Just so you know, in case you didn't know this, Whitney is literally, I see your tax sign every night I leave. It is literally across the street from my office. So just so you know, your other office is literally across the street.
Yeah, people will be like, do you actually have an office in Vegas? Like an actual legit brick and mortar? I'm like, yeah, we do.
I see the logo.
Thank you. People just think I'm lying. Like, I'm like, yes, we have a door with our sign. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Yep. I'll take a photo and I'll post it on Instagram for all the people to see. I'm like, nope, see, it's there.
I made the mistake of making all my offices different social media pages. I feel like I should have done them all together. It's just a lot to manage. Yeah.
Yeah. I can barely manage the podcast and the agency and then my personal. They all, at least once a week, does one of them take a back seat because I'm like, this is just, first of all, honestly, social media in general is a full-time job.
It really is.
And and I love it, but I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, I can't keep up with this. Like, this is a lot. But in fact, I've kind of dropped the ball this week, so I really need to get better at it. But it's hard. It's like what we've kind of talked about it, me and my business partner, because we want to have a presence. We're licensed in 14
Good for you.
states, so we can do business. Actually, 15, I
Dang.
think. Now I gotta add them up again. But we talked about, do we have physical locations for SEO or for like Google or whatever? And we always go back and forth. So I'm like, well, at the end of the day, I just want to keep my social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, luckily my brain is already too full on that, but I've heard different things. I've heard that it's good both ways. So I think it's whatever,
That's why I did it. So that's
you
why
know.
I have all the separate offices, just so like our address and everything can be online. And I do have one web page
Yep.
that lists all our offices. And luckily for me,
Yep.
I just copy and paste. I do one, and then I can just copy and paste all the other ones. And my sister-in-law is doing the Loudonville one,
true.
so technically I only have 3, but it's still a lot, right?
Well, the good thing to think of is when you do want to just step back a little bit, you're still the owner over everything, but as the offices continue to grow or whatever you want to evolve the businesses as, when you hire, that employee can do that, social. You don't have to always do it. So actually it's not bad. There's always, you can always change
Yeah,
stuff,
and then,
right?
like I have a payroll business that I don't even have social media. At this point, it's growing. The business is growing so fast that I don't advertise. We'll always slow the roll here.
Which is a
I
great
know
problem
it
to
is.
have. That's
The
amazing.
payroll business is, once again, it just has formed into something that all our clients were having payroll and all these issues with payroll. It wasn't correct, and they were getting charged an arm and a leg, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yep.
And I obviously did payroll for my mom's business and helped Bill with his payroll back when you did payroll on pieces of paper and you mailed it to all these different agencies. Now, right, I got a software and all magically goes to the government, from their bank accounts.
I have such an issue with the big box company. I think that's genius for you. I'm not going to name names on here,
We
but
all
we all
know
know them. But it's like, one of them was a completely mess up. We actually had to cut a check for like
Yeah.
$4,000. Now it was money owed, but I
You weren't
wasn't
expecting it.
paying close enough attention. Yeah. And well, I wasn't paying close enough attention when we switched payroll companies. They copied the wrong interest rate for the unemployment
Weird.
tax. So we had been underpaying every month. And then all of a sudden, honestly, first of all, I did not get anything in the mail. I always check my mail.
They
So I'm a
don't.
little
They
annoyed
never
by
will
that.
until
Thank
you have a
you.
bunch of penalties.
They said they mailed out. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, because until my business partner in the merger, did he actually log into our unemployment file and see that we had all of these late fees? I was like,
Yeah.
Now, I will say they removed those because the payroll company took blame. They put it in an email
Oh,
and they
that's good.
contacted the unemployment office, but it was still money we had owed. So, but we didn't have to pay all the late fees and all that stuff. But I mean, that's still a shock. And how am I supposed to know? I mean, I
Right,
should,
you're just supposed to
right? I'm a
know.
business owner, but that's not my forte. Yeah. And I'm not good at that. So one thing, if I've learned anything in the 5 years I've owned my agency, plus some other previous, business ownership experiences, I'm not good at numbers. I hate numbers. I hate taxes. I hate all those things. So I'm always going to have a professional to do that. Or in my case, like my business partner is really smart with that stuff. And I'm like, great. You just tell me what I can spend and what I need to do, and I'm going to do that. I was like, I don't want to look at the bank account every day. That does not include
Payroll
me.
is worse than tax. I mean, you make a mistake on payroll and it gets very expensive quickly. And they're not always understanding. The oops, I didn't know doesn't always work, right? They're, well, too bad. You got penalty and interest.
Everything's so black and white with that.
Yep. And luckily I've made all these mistakes with my mom's business when I was younger. And
you're like, don't worry, I've made all these mistakes on my own, so I'm never going to be doing that with you.
So I've already made all the mistakes. So now I know how to handle, the issues and, the scary letters they try to send you, right?
I think that's life in general, right? Like, I just always I always tell people second chances are so important because nobody's human. And I always try to tell that to my insurance clients too. I'm like, you're going to get an adjuster. They're human. You're human. Like they might mess up. Every company might have somebody mess up. at the end of the day, like, that's what we're here for, and that's why you have that professional to jump in and help when necessary, and it happens more times than not, but at the end of the day, like, nobody's
Right.
human. You can't expect you're not perfect at your job, so why would you expect somebody else to be exactly perfect with their
Yep.
job? That's why we have a second set of eyes. That's why you now, if you're making the same mistake over and over
Right.
and over again, all right, now I'm gonna lose it a little bit more, right? But we're
Right.
all human. It
Right.
happens. You gotta have a little bit of grace.
Plus, it's funner. You
Yeah,
know, it's more fun to
it really is.
make mistakes and learn and grow and figure out what you need to do. Well, I shouldn't do that because that sucked. You know, I should probably do this.
Yeah. You love the
Yeah.
strategy piece
Yeah,
of
when
it.
they say
Yeah.
it's due
Yeah.
131 of 24, it really is due. You know, it's not due February 1st. It really should be due, you know, the 31st of
Yep.
January. So, you know,
Yep.
and back when
Yep.
I was doing it for my mom, like, you know, what's a couple weeks? It's fine, you know. Nope. And it's actually not fine.
Nope, you learn that real fast. A deadline is
Yeah.
a deadline
Yeah.
is a
But that was
deadline.
when I was 18. You know, I didn't who cares?
Yeah.
I didn't really care back then.
Yeah.
But now I can help
Yeah.
people.
But it was all great experience that has led to where you're
Yeah.
at right now. So, I always that's what I love about that's why I think I kind of wanted to make this podcast because I like to hear people's journeys because that is what made
Yeah.
us. Whether you're successful or not right now, that journey is just it's a part of the process and you wouldn't be where you're at. Like I had a bad business experience with another business that I owned and I'll tell you I still am thankful for it because I wouldn't be where I'm at today without learning from those
Right.
mistakes. And, I bosses over time. I've learned what kind of boss I do
Yep.
not want to be. like and and that's because of my experience and my journey, through and so I've just always been ultra aware of those experiences in life and how can I I guess because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So um I myself actually did what you did for college. I got my business degree because I didn't know what I wanted to be. I knew I didn't want to be a
Mhm.
teacher because my whole family are all teachers. And but I was like, well, I know I want to do something in the
Yeah.
business world. So I guess let me just do business
Yep.
administration, business management. I was like, at least I could do a million different things with that. So now I'm running
Yep.
a business.
My dad was
Like,
right.
it
Everything's a
worked out.
business.
And yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter what route I went, but at least it was good real world experience to that I could kind of translate. I mean, most of the stuff now, like you did kind of touch on earlier, is it's more, I didn't learn it in
Yeah.
college, I can tell you that. But college to me was all about figuring out life, right? You're now
Mhm.
semi-adult and you have to figure out your time, time management. You have to juggle. I was an athlete in college, so you have to um, figure out your studies versus your training versus season and
Mhm.
traveling and then I needed to get a job. It wasn't a full ride and so it's like how do you manage all these pieces? So that to me is what helped me in the real world is that college experience, but in today's world you don't necessarily need a
No.
degree. Like if you want to become an insurance
Yeah.
agent, you just got to go take your license. Take a week 1 or 2 week course, pass a test,
Yeah.
and voila, you're an insurance
If I
professional.
had to do it over again, I don't know if I would go to school. I don't necessarily need my degree. I mean, it looks super cool hanging up there. I mean, people think I'm smart, right? You got a
Right? Right?
degree.
Yeah.
My mom bought me the fancy
Yep.
frame, so it was nice. I don't know if I would do it
Perfect.
again. I don't know. I didn't.
I was one of those like I knew I didn't want to get my MBA. I knew I wanted to just do 4 years and get
Yeah.
right out. Like I have no desire to go back to school, but I love to learn, so I love
Mhm.
going to conferences. I love furthering my learning that way. Um that's a good question. I think I still would because it was the real world
Yeah.
experience of kind of taking that next step, but I'm not going to push it on my kids. But here's what I think is important is don't go to college if you know you want to be kind of like this is more of a dramatic thing, but if you know you want to be a teacher, don't go to necessarily an Ivy
Right.
League school or an out of state school that's costing you $100,000 a year knowing you're going to get out and make
Right.
50
If
grand a year,
that, right.
right? Like, do it the smart way. If you don't know what you want to do and you're just go community college, then 4-year, or go to in-state 4-year. Do it in a little bit more
Right.
responsible way.
I guess for me, I was sick
For
during all my schooling, so it kind of
Yeah.
sucked. It was a real downer, really. I look back and I'm like, how did I
Yeah.
even make it? That was awful. I
Yeah.
did, but
But I mean, look what you
yeah.
overcame. You figured
If
it
you had told
out.
me at 18 that
That's
I would have
awesome.
6 businesses and, just be doing this thing, whatever this thing is that I'm doing, right? Running these businesses and
Mhm.
trying to succeed in life, I wouldn't have believed you. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's all part of
Yeah.
our journey. That's all that's I love it. And that's what I love hearing is your journey. I never met you and I'm already inspired by it. Like that's so cool. And I know we briefly chatted before we even came on here, and I love the real estate part. And so you've just like I already had that fire and it like lit it even more to be like, okay, no, if I really need to penny pinch
Mm-hmm.
Q1 to Q2 next year to get into that house to make it
Yeah.
happen, I will, because I want to be able to do that. And that's where, it gets me excited. And that's something that I really enjoy because I see the big picture.
Yeah. And
Not everybody can see the
the
big picture.
networking, like you said before, I was in here working yesterday and the phone rang, and it was a new client who had heard multiple times my name to go talk to. And she called and she wanted a meeting next week. And I said, well, I got payroll. I'm trying to get finished up to the end of the year, and I'm trying to work less because it's Christmas. But I said, I'm going to be here for the next 2 hours. Why don't you just stop in? We can talk about your situation. She came in and she lives in a 3-unit that she owns, and she's probably 65, 70. Hopefully she doesn't listen. I don't know how old she is. She looks a little bit older. Um, she wants to sell it, but she still wants to live there. And I didn't know that. And I said, oh, you have a 3-unit, right? I love like duplexes, 3 units. Those are like my thing. I said, I got some rentals and I'm looking to buy some more. That if you ever want to sell this 3-unit, let me know. And she goes, well, I really want to
Mhm.
sell it. I want to get out of the real estate business, but I don't want to have to sell this and then buy something more expensive. And I said, well, why don't you sell it to me and you just live there? And she started crying. She's like, I didn't even she
Wow.
goes, this is what I've been thinking about this whole time. And I didn't think anybody would ever even want to consider it. And she just started crying and crying. And I'm like, okay.
Wow. You
Yeah,
gave me
I'm not
goosebumps.
really a crier, so it was kind of awkward for me. But I did. I
Right,
mean,
right,
that
right.
I was like, whoa, like this is cool. Like if this really worked out, I mean, she called me an hour before. I told her to come in, right? And I could have been like, oh, I'm busy. I got to do this. I'll talk to you next year,
Yep.
right? We don't really even need to meet now
Yep.
anyway. But I told her to come in, and
Something was telling
yeah,
you. Something was telling you on
yeah.
that one.
And if it all works out, I'm gonna just be amazed.
You're like, this is it.
Yeah.
This was the sign that I always tell people, you got to go with your gut. Like that, something was just telling you it was worth to say, hey, I'm here for 2 more hours if you want to do it now. Otherwise, I won't. Because you still have to value yourself and your
Mm-hmm.
time, right? But that was something in the back of your mind that was pulling at you to say, I should probably
Yeah.
just, and that's what I tell people too. I'm like, if just because you're not a big business, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't see tons of money
Mm-hmm.
signs, doesn't mean I'm not giving you the time of day, because you never know who that person
Right.
knows or is in the circle with, or what it can, it's just a circle of what goes around comes around that I'm a big believer in. And we all have guts. And I think that's where women actually have the advantage over men. Not saying men don't have that initial gut feeling, but I think women more time kind of go with
Mm-hmm.
their gut. Like sometimes I go to my business partner and he probably thinks I'm really nuts and questions this every time. But I'm like, I don't have set proof as to why I want to move in this direction. Only just I'm going
Yeah.
with my gut and I'm having a hard time articulating why. I just know this is the route we need to go.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean,
oh
Bill
man.
knows. He knows. Like, I'll overreact. You know, like, let's do this. Let's do that. What do
Yep.
you mean
Yep.
this client said that, right?
Yep.
He's like, no, are we overreacting? I don't know, maybe. And so what if I am?
Oh, that's so true. That is so true. It's funny. But I think that's where I think that's where women, and not even, this isn't even a gender thing. I think that's where sometimes people like you and me who were meant to own businesses and who want to own businesses, because there's nothing wrong with not wanting to
Yeah.
own a business. But I think that's where you and me and people like us like have that innate like
Mm-hmm.
flame in us to like, because we have that, thought process, and we have that like gut reaction of, you know, to get
Yeah.
us where we're at and to help make those decisions. And we know, but whether we can articulate it ourselves or not, you have to trust your gut
Yeah. I
sometimes
couldn't
on
go
that.
back to be an employee. I don't know. I don't think I could do it. I think I would just like
No.
stress out and like start shaking probably. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Nope. I could make way more money working for a corporate environment, and I have
Yeah.
no desire to do that. I'd rather be more flexible and not feel guilt of asking to take a half day
Yeah.
because my kid's sick. And I wanted to become a business owner because when my kids get to the school age, I want to be able to go
Yeah.
volunteer. I want to be able to do their events, and I wanted the flexibility, over time to step back just a little bit and do my other passion
Yeah.
projects. But yeah, I mean, I think we're just wired sometimes
I think so too.
differently.
I will say though,
Because we also have the
I
crazy. It's like, why did we do this to ourselves? Sometimes I wish I
yeah.
was just an employee, but I enjoy it. Like
I get jealous of
it's
my
fun.
husband. You know, he comes home and turns off his phone for his work phone. Um, and I'm like, oh, that would be nice. That would be really nice. I
Yeah.
did actually this year.
I'm getting better at setting better boundaries because I have that
Yeah.
problem. But ultimately I
Yeah.
care. And so not that other people don't, because again, I'm working on boundaries, but I have gotten better. Like for the hours that we're home and my kids are awake still, I've set that aside and done that. But I still, in the nighttime will jump on and get online. I'm trying to get another hobby, so I don't do
Hmm.
that. But I think it's something that we're gonna always
Yeah.
fight in our
I
head.
got a second
I
phone.
think that's just what
I
we're
now
gonna
have a
have to
work
deal with.
cell phone and my personal cell phone, and it has helped.
I didn't want 2
Yeah.
different ones, and,
It's good.
mine are so convoluted doing insurance for 15
People
years.
make fun of me though.
Oof,
My sister-in-law calls me
I
Sammy
know.
Two Phones. There's a song. She keeps playing it for me. It's like a rap song about two phones. I'm like, stop it. She makes fun of me. But
That is
it helps
so
me, right?
funny.
I can't
That's
I'm like
so funny.
I have to have my phone, right? My parents and
Yep.
my in-laws, and then if I'm not with Carson, you know, when somebody calls, and I just, you know, mentally I could not answer my clients if it was on my personal phone.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
got my second phone and I can,
Yeah.
you know, turn, like you said, turn it off. I can turn it off,
Yep.
and then turn it back on
Yep.
when I want to. But I could not just, if I saw a client's number come up, I couldn't be like, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. No, like, and then it would just make me anxious, right? Got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And then the whole time I'm sitting
Mhm.
with my son, I'm thinking about this client that I had to take care of.
I'm the
And if
same
I
way.
just don't see it, then I won't stress about it. And the phone, the
Yep.
extra phone has been great. So,
Good. It's something that's been on my mind. I'm like, maybe, and then I'm like, and then I just don't get
yeah.
around to it. But that's actually a valid point.
So now,
It's
no.
just like unread text
Yeah.
messages and unread messages. I'm like the
Hmm.
OCD in me is like, no, I got to read it. But then if you can't do anything about it or anything, like then it sits and festers in my
Yep.
head. Like, okay, no, I need to, and it's just gonna sit there until I know I need to handle
I
it.
will just
So
forever be
yeah,
Sammy Two Phones. It's just who I am.
I love it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you shifted and you
Yeah.
figured it
Yeah.
out, right? You did what
Right.
worked for you.
Right.
Well, that is so awesome. I have just really enjoyed. Like I said earlier, I've I've really related to a lot of your social media posts. I'm like, yes, I get that feeling, and so I like knew from the moment that you reached out, I was like, no, I like this girl. I was like, there's definitely, and so, I've loved learning about your journey, and this has been so great. So I'm really glad you reached out, and I am just so impressed, and I love everything that you've done. And now you really need to come out to Vegas. So I think you really should start looking on that real estate
I know.
side.
I mean, what Whitney and Amanda have their big Christmas party in January, so maybe I'll pop out.
I already are RSVP'd, so now you have to come, and it's an expense. There you go.
I'll have to think about it. We'll see.
Okay. I mean, you can't miss parties. I know. Especially when it's at your office.
Especially when it's saying beverages included. Yeah.
Yes. Then you know it's going to be
the right
kind
of beverage.
Maybe I should verify. Should check. Otherwise, I might have to remove my RSVP.
Bring your own beverage.
I know. Yeah. Or yep, that's smart. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I really look forward to getting to know you. And I will look forward to, watching your businesses grow and more rentals in your portfolio.
If I get this 3-unit.
Yes, I know. We're going to manifest this. You've already now put it out here. It's on the podcast. So now it's out in the world. And now we're just going to keep manifesting that.
That'll be what? Can I count that as my 3 and 24 if I got a 3?
That's 3 doors. That is 3 doors. So in the insurance world, that's 3 doors.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck getting through the rest of the year and putting out there. And then we'll, in the podcast, have all of your contact information. So for any of you that want to reach out, definitely do that. It'll be in the show notes, and we'll make sure we put you on our social media too. So thank you.
Okay,
awesome.
Bye.
No problem. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Ashley Mastowski. Tune in next time for more inspiration and stories from women who've made an impact. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Special shout out to Little Dog Social Media for making all of this come together.